Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we are looking at the NBA Cup, kicking it off here for 2024. Technically the first NBA Cup, as last year it was called the in-season tournament. We're going to be taking a look at best bets in this episode. We also have player props up in a separate episode. I'm bringing both of those to you each and every weekday moving forward this NBA season. So make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along with us. Also want you to check out the great partnership that we have right now with BetMGM for new users that don't yet have a BetMGM account. Make sure you do, when you sign up, use that code there, LINESYT50, and get yourself $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet fails to cash. Plus, you get $50 in bonus bets regardless of what happens on your first bet. So definitely a big, nice worth it there. With the $1,500, up to $1,500 you can win there. But Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first pick here as we get into these NBA Cup games.
Yeah, I'll take the Wolves -9 in Portland. I just think this is a team that has figured out their defense, and now they're just going to kind of crush bad teams. The one kind of human element that could go either way is Chauncey Billups just kind of lighting into his team after their latest 50-point loss. I mean, 3 bad losses in a row. And so, I mean, they could respond to that. They could kind of turtle and like start to quit on their coach already. And it could not matter what they want to do because the Wolves are also coming off a loss to the Heat there without Jimmy down the stretch. And they're pretty damn good after a loss. They've also handled business in the division and against bad teams. Like I'm saying, 5 straight against Portland, averaging 122, posting a 103 defensive rating. And that's the rating they have in their last 4, which, 3 of the last 4 were just absolutely outstanding on defense. There was the one against Chicago that they got into a shootout and then needed a bunch of points, but still covered. So I mean, yeah, they've pretty much shut down this Blazers offense, and it's expected, right? Like, where do they go to find points when you have Ayton trying to score on Gobert, or you have Simons trying to score on all these ball hawking guards as your 2 options? I don't know. And I mean, Ayton might get benched again here the last 2 games, right? Especially if Billups is calling out people's effort. So I would look to fade him potentially with some unders there. You might see more Rob Williams, more Donovan Clingan. But yeah, like I said, 5 straight, 4-1 against the spread. The only one they failed to cover, the Wolves, was when Ant showed up late to the game, if you remember. And so he didn't play the first quarter, and they got kind of a slow start. They still won the game by 5, though. This is a weird situation as well because they play again in Portland tomorrow night, but I mean, Minnesota, probably a team that has their haunches up a little bit more to get a good start in the NBA Cup. Every point matters, right? We got to remember that if you don't win your group, it comes down to point differential. So they will pour it on if they can. And coming off a loss, I think they will take out some frustration on a really bad team.
Yeah. I think you fade Anthony Simons tonight. He already hasn't looked that good. And this is, Minnesota, OKC, happy to take playmaking ball handlers unders versus those 2 teams. Another good reminder about the NBA Cup needing points. Points matter now. They matter in terms of point differential. You want to win that. Can't wait for the last couple games of the NBA Cup, because that's when you can also find some value where last year it was the Knicks need to win by 20 against this awful Pistons team sitting everybody or whatever. I think they're going to do it. They're going to make sure they win by 19 so you can take some alt spreads. There's going to be some opportunities in this NBA Cup to take advantage of the fact that we know how much teams might need to win by, that they're trying to score a lot of points. So I won't be taking too many unders, but I would consider one in this game, except for it's really low for my first pick. It's not the total that I'm taking here, but I'm going to that Hornets and Magic game, and I'm surprised you didn't take it. I can understand why you might be scared off of it a little bit now that the Hornets have lost, Miles Bridges for this one. Obviously, they're not going to have an actual center in this game either, with Mark Williams and Nick Richards out. But it's 8.5 points. I'm going to take that. It's a 212.5 total, bet down from 218. So I love the dog in that situation. There's just not enough points going to be scored for a team to win by 9 or 10 points, in my opinion. And I love the fact that the Magic have blown out the Wizards and the Pelicans in their last 2 games to get this number. But it's does that scare you? This Hornets team is better than them. Now, I would love for them to have a starting center, even Nick Richards, who I've never spoken that highly of, but at least he was a 7-foot body that you could put out there. So now we're talking about Taj Gibson and some Grant Williams as well coming off the bench. So it's not a an awesome lineup down there. But like we're talking about Goga Batadze, not exactly an offensive threat. He is a good rebounder, and I do expect him to have an easier time rebounding. He's been really good in the last 3 games or so without Paolo, as they've clearly needed somebody down low. That was what they were missing more than anything, was Paolo's down low presence, apparently, because they were much worse down low and on the boards for a couple games right after he left, and then they put Tristan Da Silva and Goga Batadze in there. They've been a little bit better, but this is still a team that is pretty bad at limiting what the Hornets want to do, which at this point is LaMelo Ball, go ahead and get yours, with a 42% usage rate in their last game. But that's the exact type of player that you want to have against the Magic. Are you a dude that can create your own shot, shoot off the dribble, and shoot from 3? And if you can do all those things against Orlando, then you should be okay. They are giving up the 7th most points to pick and roll plays to the ball handler specifically, and you're going to see Goga Batadze with that drop D. So maybe you consider LaMelo for the threes in there, but I think he's going to have a big part in that. And then on the other side of the ball, don't look now, Charlotte's not that bad at defense. I know they haven't played the best competition in the last 5, but in the last 3 games, or excuse me, last 5 games, they have the 5th best defensive rating in the league, and they're number 1 in terms of limiting offensive rebound percentage there as well in that time frame, which is funny because they haven't had a center for 3 of those 5 games. Yeah, it's clearly a group rebounding effort, which is kind of, what we saw with the Clippers and the Thunder last night, where the Thunder didn't have a center either. They still managed to put 2 bodies on Zubac and handle the post down low. And that's the case with this Magic team too. It's like, yeah, Franz is a big body. Goga's a big body. But other than that, there's not really that sort of between versatile player that you trust to come in and just dominate down low, like a really good power forward, for example, or anything like that. So I also, just know that the Magic are going to rely on free throws a lot. Hornets have been pretty good against that as well in their last 5, although in the last 3, you can see it kind of dropping a little bit with the center. So if the free throws would be the way that this kind of gets messed up, but with such a slow, choppy game ahead of us, with 2 teams playing slowly, playing better defense than they are offense, this is one I'll take the 9 points.
Yeah, I don't need to take it because I took it 2 weeks ago when Paolo went down at +8, and then I'm surprised it was +6, but then the Miles Bridges situation moves it back, so you can still get that number now. I mean, I'm a little concerned because I think he would be on Franz most of the game, and that would be nice because basically if Franz has a cold night shooting, Orlando has no chance to cover the spread. Like they cannot win at margin with this offense in its current state, and he is 0 for 12 his last 3 from 3 against Charlotte. Not great numbers there. So I think they have something in the bag to slow him down and keep this close enough. And yeah, like we were saying like a few weeks ago, like even if Paolo's in there, like this is an NBA Cup game. This is like a LaMelo Ball situation. Probably going to hit quite a few threes and have a nice game with the lights brighter. So
yep.
Let's go to Milwaukee, man, skeleton crew. But so Giannis is going to have to do his thing. Giannis 30. Giannis 10 rebounds. It's the same game parlay. And the Bucks to cover if you want. I mean, the Raptors to cover +8. If you want the negative correlation,
there we go.
+215. I love that juice. I mean, I got a more conservative option if you want to add to that. I mean, you're almost at even money with just Giannis to go 30 and 10, which I think is highly likely here with no Damian Lillard, we should mention. Obviously, still no Chris Middleton, and just nothing around him. Like, he called out the squad, but there's just no one to come with him. It doesn't matter, like, where you're going to fire up. I mean, Bobby Porter's already fired up. You're going to get Pat Connaughton to raise his offensive output. Like, no, it's going to be all on you, Giannis. And it has been. He has a 40% usage rate in his last 3, 24 field goal attempts per game, 9 free throws. Those exceed his numbers without Dame last year already, and Dame's been in there. And now he faces a Raptors team that allows the most points and most free throws and 5th most paint points. So, but they do limit the third fewest 3-point attempts and makes. So, what else is around him? It's AJ Green. It's guys just hoisting threes when Giannis gets double. But Toronto's done a pretty good job there. So I expect Giannis to do everything he can here at home. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't trust the Bucks defense at all. So kind of lean, and I don't trust the over here with Dame out. So I kind of lean under, kind of lean to the dog, just like you're saying. I do like Emmanuel quickly as well if he's active. I mean, he's got the elbow injury on top of when he came back, but I think it's a good time for him to kind of return to his normal minutes after playing back-to-back Friday, Saturday, and then he gets the 2 days off. And then this Bucks perimeter defense is just paper soft. So for him to get 15 and Giannis to get 30 is plus money. So, but either way, he should help the Raptors hang in this game. Quickly should. as well as RJ Barrett should kind of return to his scoring ways because it's very poor defense for the Bucks. There's no way you can trust them to cover at margin.
Yeah, I mean, they've been covering regardless. I mean, Davion Mitchell is not Manuel Quickly by any means, but on defense he is, for sure. And he's been a good facilitator for this squad as well with Quickly out. So, I have no problem backing them if Quickly doesn't play as well at +8. Like the Lakers, the Bucks, these teams should not be favored by this many points or too many. Like, there ain't nobody blowing nobody out with those teams right now. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I agree getting that negative correlation. I was about to talk about Toronto potentially, but I'll make it a little bit easier on myself and go with a team that's much better than the other team and take the Suns -4. I think Utah is as bad as advertised. And by the way, with Portland, I didn't even really mention it, but they're tanking. Like DeAndre Ayton might not be getting minutes because he's not playing hard. It could also just be that they're down by 30 in the third quarter, so he's getting these weird like there's no way to test those lineups. And I think Portland and Utah are both are two teams that you're just going to see tank more heavily as the season goes on. It's going to continue to compound on itself. So I'm going to take the Suns with the 4 points here. Eat that. That's fine. They're still better than the Jazz without Kevin Durant playing. That's for sure. He's going to be out again in this one. And obviously that sucks. And they just lost to the Kangs after not having him in an overtime game a couple of nights ago now. But like at the same time, don't care. Like I said, this is a good shooting team without KD, still a very good jump shooting team versus an awful perimeter defense, like the worst one. And that is pure effort, obviously, on the part of the Jazz. And they may not just have the weapons, but defensively they should be better, and they're just not. Phoenix is shooting the 5th most above the break threes that they're attempting. Utah's allowing the 3rd most makes from up there. It's really the case as you just move around the perimeter and inside the mid-range. You're just going to see a lot of available shots and really good numbers for the Suns on offense and really bad numbers for the Jazz defending those points. They also don't get back into transition. And Phoenix, although they don't have the highest pace and aren't getting out into transition, they're like 15th in terms of the amount that they're getting into transition. They're the most efficient team once they get into transition, and are still in the top 15 in terms of the amount of points per game off of those plays. So Utah not getting back at all, allowing the most transition points per game, super inefficient on defense in both half court and in the full court there in the fast break. But they really, even with Markkanen in, I mean, you called it out. He hasn't done much for them when he's actually been in the last 5 games, which has been somewhat sporadic. He's only at 13 points per game, a 99 offensive rating, missed a couple games, does not seem to have any kind of rhythm with the guys that he's on the floor with now, especially as they have a few more changes like John Collins not necessarily playing in the starting lineup as much, and they're trying to move guys in and out of that Taylor Hendricks spot. Seems to be messing with Lowry a bit, and it's just going to continue to be a tank job is what my opinion is. That they've been relying on free throws a ton, attacking with guys like John Collins, Colin Sexton, and even Walker Kessler in there, relying on those in the terms of the top 10 in terms of free throw attempt rate. And the Suns have been very good at limiting that. Top 10 limiting free throw attempt rate, and top 5 limiting points inside of 5 feet. So a little bit of the extended paint. Nurk not the quickest defender when you get down low against him. So if you hit the floater, God bless. But they've been really good dropping that defense down inside the paint, deep into it, and keeping the rim protected. So I don't know how the Utah is going to get easy points. Maybe Markkanen goes off from 3, but this Suns defense has been pretty good on the perimeter as well, with guys like Royce O'Neal playing with against Markkanen tonight.
Yeah, we should see more Royce, maybe a lot more Mason Plumlee if Nurkic isn't able to go. Like, you almost upgrade the Suns if Nurkic doesn't play, right? You'd rather him than he'd just come out and play like 12 ineffective minutes if they just have a game plan. But yeah, Markin is not healthy. Like, the back spasms, every injury report coming out with back spasms and then just looking like duty on the offensive end. Like, that's a huge problem for the Jazz, obviously. You get Jordan Clarkson back in there, maybe he can get hot, but that's not going to help you on the other end. And Grayson Allen is kind of getting back up to full speed. Very underrated defender. So I think with him on either Sexton or Clarkson, this Jazz offense which has just been putrid, even at home in their limited opportunities here, like especially at home actually to open the season. Like, do they come back, with the NBA Cup and come out a little bit stronger, with a little bit more of a rabid crowd? Like, maybe, but yeah, I grabbed the 2.5 last night for the Suns. Again, that's why I'm not giving this out again, but -4 is still fine. Yeah, if the Suns win this one, it's because the Jazz are out tanking the Blazers and not even caring that it's an NBA Cup game.
100%, and we're getting that extra point and a half of value because KD is out. I don't even know that this would have been at -2.5 at any point if KD was in. That opens probably at 5.5 or so. It should be higher. Just plain simple. I would play this up to about 4.5, 5.5 in that range is where I'd stop playing this. But I still feel very confident in the Suns, who stars out. Backups come in, go up a little bit more. So bets up. But that is all the time we have for
Devin
you.
Booker and Bradley Beal ain't really backups either. Like that's pretty good second and third options.
Precisely. Yep. So star out, other stars, bet up is how we'll look at the Suns right now. But that is all the time that we have for you in best bets. Also got those player props up for you as we do each and every weekday. So subscribe to that page and go ahead and continue to follow along all season. Until we see you next, happy betting.